Every game, every moment, 96.7 KFAN. The Plus brings you the men's college basketball tournament. It's driven by Dave Smith Motors. You can tune in on the free iHeartRadio app to catch all the insanity. And how about this, a little scheduling note for your Friday. Starting at 6 o'clock and then tip off shortly after 6:30 as I'm looking at it on the schedule here. We're going to have Minnesota Golden Gophers women's basketball facing UCLA out in Sacramento. It's going to be JG on the call. You can hear Garzi and you can hear the women versus UCLA right here. Pregame 6, tip-off around 6:30 p.m. on the Fan. As I mentioned, men's tourney, thanks to Dave Smith Motors, will be on The Plus.
From The Athletic and TheAthletic.com, will the Vikings trade Jonathan Grenard? Everything we need to know. What do we need to know? And, is this going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I would say, I don't think it's clear one way or another. It depends on a lot of different factors. The couple things I will say, the Vikings have not wanted to trade Jonathan Grenard. They don't want to trade Jonathan Grenard. Part of the reason it's a conversation is because his contract currently puts him around the 15th highest paid edge rusher in the NFL. And he's had production, specifically advanced metric production, that would lead you to believe that he would, be deserving of more money. The Vikings, with their cap situation, haven't wanted to pay him what he and Drew Rosenhaus, his agent, feel like he is deserving. And so the Vikings wanted to work with the player, have been malleable to the idea. If you can get that money from somewhere else and that team is willing to pay us in draft capital what we feel like we deserve, then we'll listen. I think what I've talked to people around the league, the biggest hurdle for other teams has been the contract that has been the hurdle for the Vikings. So,
because anybody who trades with them knows, they
have to pay him.
Pump that thing up.
Right. Pump it up. And with a structure that, according to someone who's a high-ranking person in another building of a team that talked about the idea, they're
how is Ted Thompson?
Yeah, I wish.
But doesn't that also then water down the trade equity? So if you think about it, Vikings fans out there, it's man, I don't want to lose Grenard, but if we got a first-round pick, now I'm listening. It's a team's not going to give you a first-round pick if I got to double the dude's salary the minute he walks in the door.
And then all the other teams know what the Vikings know, which is this is a guy who just played 12 games. He had a serious shoulder injury.
Yep.
He's navigated injuries in the past. Yes, his sack number was just 3 in 2025, but again, the advanced production has been there. So it's a difficult one with a lot of layers, and that's why when you ask me, do I think it's going to happen, it's really hard to, if you look at Philadelphia, are they going to all of a sudden be you know what, we'll trade a second-round pick and we're going to pay him? If they feel like that's a route that they end up going, then it could be possible. If it's not, then it might not be possible.
Orlovsky, Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza, and splashing 3-2.
I think Ty Simpson is QB1. I think Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in this class. I think when you look at the body of work and what was asked of these two quarterbacks, you have to start with the question, who needed to do more to carry their football team to play well? Ty Simpson, and it's not close between those two quarterbacks. Who took more games over throughout the course of the season? Ty Simpson. It's not even close. And if we're asking, okay, we're trying to see what you are as a player in college and what you're going to be asked to do in the NFL and what translates. I start with, what do you do in moments of panic with the football? Because that's really what separates good to great. I would tell you that Ty Simpson is more consistent in that regard. There's not a ton of moments of panic out of Fernando Mendoza. And then there's moments when he immediately drops his eyes and becomes a runner. Ty Simpson more consistent in that. What guy was asked to do more NFL throws? When I say NFL throws, I'm talking 15, 20, 25-yard in routes, crossing routes, deep corner or sail routes. Yeah. Ty Simpson, and it's not even close in that regard.
Okay, really the only question I have here, Nordo may have more, is do you feel Dan Orlovsky, not anybody, but this individual, would fix a conversational race because he and Ty Simpson are represented by the same agency?
No. I can't imagine I cannot fathom you'd put your credibility on the line.
Not that guy.
For a relationship with CAA.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't. And there's a couple things, and Nordo, if you have questions, you can hop in. First of all, for me, I don't think it is the craziest conversation in the world to suggest that it's probably closer between these two guys than maybe some perceive it. I don't think that's the craziest thing in the world. I also think that there are a lot of variables you have to talk about, and that conversation that Dan just spelled out was very one-sided. Like, he didn't talk about the size of Ty Simpson, which is a major concern, as we've seen of guys of his size in the past.
Yeah,
he didn't talk
how big
about,
is he?
He's like 200 pounds soaking wet.
And how tall?
He's, I think, 6'2", 6'3". He's thin.
Yeah.
He is just not thick in his bottom half, and that stuff can often lead to injuries. He didn't talk about the spray misses. Like, I'm an Alabama fan. You'd watch these games and be like, holy cow, he just sprayed that 5 yards over Jeremy Bernard's head. So there's a lot of layers to the conversation. I do think Fernando, as I said earlier, is much more of a projection than people are making it out to be. He played in an RPO-heavy offense and is now going to have to acclimate to the rhythm and timing of Clint Kubiak. Can he do it? I think he definitely can. He's going to work his butt off to do it. But I don't think it's ever a no-brainer that oftentimes the draft analysis makes it seem to be.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking off air with Ben Lieber about this yesterday morning before he joined us, and Lieber kind of landed on an interesting point, kind of the idea of how we evaluate. You watch a ton of film in the off season, you get pumped up for draft season, and we get as informed as we can to draft night. It's almost like, I think in Dan's case, he made the mistake of he's pumping up Ty Simpson. He watches the film. He loves what Ty Simpson is doing. But in that process, he also, in some ways, disparaged Fernando Mendoza, where if Simpson's is QB1, that's terrific, and celebrate him and explain why. But to make that kind of contrasting, just the jibing nature of what he did in terms of bringing that to Mendoza's doorstep, I think that's why people are so pissed off or annoyed by it.
And then he went on Pat McAfee, and Pat was like, can you give more reasons? And he's like, well, talk about the big games. And I don't know if that argument is the one you would go to. If you did talk about Fernando Mendoza hasn't thrown a ton over the middle of the field, if you did talk about how RPO-centric their offense is, like, those are, if you did talk about how his eyes fall in the pocket when there is pressure, those are real data points that are worth discussion. But I mean, the accuracy is undeniable with Fernando Mendoza. And then, unless it's all just optics, his willingness to put in the time and the work and to be studious, like that, those are important layers as well. But again, the draft process makes me laugh because everyone talks about these guys so confidently. And a first-round pick has a 60% chance of becoming a starter, essentially. A second-round pick has like a 40% chance of becoming a starter. And everything after that, it just falls. 30%, 20%, 10%. So you're talking about major, like, bold probability bets that are really out there. So that's why I often laugh at some of the draft analysis that is so convicted and confident one way or another.
Jonny Athletic, your cohort, joins about 15 minutes from now to discuss a big event tonight and the Timberwolves. So just to finalize festivities with Alec from the Athletic, I mean, I got some things here that I want to get into, but we're running short on time.
Yeah, we are.
Edina's Nate Tice, whose football opinion is respected. He recently was on the Alec Lewis Show podcast. What resonates from Nate's evaluation of Kyler Murray? What do you remember what he said?
Yeah, I had Nate on my podcast, the Alec Lewis Show, wherever you get your podcast. I'm one of 3 billion people who have a podcast. And Nate was on to talk about Kyler Murray. I think he believes the fit with Kyler and Kevin O'Connell in the offense and the way Kyler plays is better than some people probably originally thought. He has questions about two areas. Throwing over the middle of the field, and what
with
that
Kyler?
looks like with Kyler.
Oh, goody.
And then
get to hear that all season again.
And then playing from under center and play action and how that's going to work. Like, those are the two areas that will be it will be interesting, fascinating, and curious to watch from your perspective, from mine, from the perch, from all of that over the course of the spring and summer. But I will say this, PA, because I've spent the last 2 weeks talking to a lot of people from Arizona. It's been part of my curiosity and fascination.
And how is Jonathan Gannon?
Pretty much everybody you talk to who spent time with Kyler in Arizona believes that this is going to work because of the standard that Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings offense and organization will have for Kyler and the motivation that he will have coming here. So people believe it will work in that regard. Now, how high does it go from a success standpoint? We'll all find out together. But I think there is optimism among people who have been around him that this marriage will hold him to a certain level that will pay dividends.
With the Alec Lewis Show podcast with Nate Tice, what went into the Spurgeon win deep cut?
I mean, Nate was just rattling off the quarterback cycle of guys he grew up watching. And, he obviously lived a lot of it. Yep. So we were just talking about like how it's crazy every year. Who's the next quarterback? And I joked with him. Since I've gotten here, it feels like the cycle of my job is in the spring, you find out who the quarterback is. Then from the spring to the fall, there's optimism about who the quarterback's going to be. Then from the fall to the winter, it's this quarterback was good at times, bad at times. And then you get to the spring and you're like, who's the quarterback going to be? And that is covering the Vikings for the Athletic. Yeah. That's what it's kind of become.
Yeah, but when it was Cousins before the Achilles, I mean, that looked like you might have settled into like 4, 5, 6 years, 7, then a retirement,
Yeah, and Kirk still doesn't have a team. That's pretty interesting.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you've talked about it.
That's right.
I think Vegas is definitely circling there. And then who knows? If it's not Vegas, maybe he's a backup for the Rams or the Packers. That's would be weird. Crazy, wouldn't it?
We had talked about that before, and it just always felt like Vegas was a bad fit, like in terms of places and maybe that's changed, and the connection with Mendoza, a lot of people are making that like he'd be a great mentor apparently they just look at Mendoza like he's a younger Cousins, like he's just cerebral, he's nerdy, the whole thing. And
Kirk's season with Clint Kubiak in 2021 was terrific.
Yeah, he loves Clint. I know that. He has a lot of respect for Rick Dennison, who's going to be the O-line coach.
Oh, he was here too. Yeah,
Gary and him have a relationship. Andrew Janocko is obviously the OC there. There's a relationship. So
that's right.
It would all make a lot of sense. But again, if Vegas doesn't happen for him, then it becomes pretty interesting. So I don't know. I enjoyed covering Kirk, so I follow it.
What are the details behind Minnesota hosting the 2028 draft?
Yeah, I mean, they've submitted a bid, which is the first step. There's been a lot of work from the Vikings standpoint, Lester Bagley and that crew, and the Minnesota Sports Commission. So they've submitted a bid. I think typically cities that submit a bid, you've got to, it rarely does it happen the first time you submit a bid. So if they don't get 2028, then I would expect them to be in line for 2029. But they seem pretty convicted that they want to make this happen, and I think it'd be awesome. Like it's always, I don't know why sometimes people travel to these cities to watch picks being made, but people
do. It's the camaraderie of it.
Yeah, and people love it. So I think this place would be a great host. I mean, everyone listening knows like this place freaking loves their teams, loves sports. And so would be pretty cool to see, I think.
Now, I don't know if we've talked about this, but you've written about it since we last chatted involving Carson Wentz. So I'm just going to ask you to paint with a broad brush. Mm-hmm. Why did the Vikings sign Carson Wentz?
To build the deepest and most talented quarterback room, which is what Kevin O'Connell said the Vikings wanted to do the first time he met with the media after the season.
Okay.
It's pretty clear cut, in my opinion. They made the quarterback room a priority. So what did they do? They signed 2 guys with a combination of like 100 plus starts for approximately $5 million. And the crazy thing is, part of the optimism around what the Vikings have done at the quarterback position, regardless of what you think of the players, is they're paying $11 million for 3 quarterbacks who have a combination of like 200 starts. And that is the 7th fewest that any team in the NFL is spending on their quarterback room. It's really hard to do that.
Right.
And again, so that's why with Carson Wentz, I think it's easy to want to go, well, that means they're going to trade JJ, or that means JJ, it's all over. Well, that means, I just think it's, if you can get a guy in Carson Wentz that you have faith in, and he's willing to sign here, then we'll sort it all out once these guys get on the field, and they didn't have to spend a lot to get him. So,
would you be in any way surprised if the McCarthy camp wants to be traded? Not we got these two, and you know as well as anybody, whether people want to laugh at it or not, because of the Seattle game last year, they like Brosmer. And I'm not saying they like Brosmer as much or more than McCarthy or dramatically less, but they like Brosmer. But it's quiet. It's all of this is so quiet right now,
which is probably good,
right? But I mean, a lot of times when it's super quiet, then wheels are grinding. Things are happening. So the McCarthy camp, I don't even know who represents him.
Brian Ayrault.
Okay, so like that side, just waiting for maybe close to the draft, being like, trade my guy.
I mean, would I be surprised if they were like a little perturbed? I would say it wouldn't surprise me a ton, but I mean, I guess I would say this is from the analysis hat. You'd be like, well, what leverage do you really have here? Mm-hmm. I mean, again, how many other teams are willing to let J.J. McCarthy just walk in and be the starter in 2026? Right. Can you find one? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it feels like, with respect to everybody and an offseason to win jobs, it feels like he's the active three. I mean, every single week, so therefore, if there is an absolute 2 spot that is open, I mean, that's one step from playing, obviously, where the other situation, if it works that way, means that he's 2 steps from playing.
Yeah, I don't know why that is the assumption that Carson Wentz is just automatically the backup. I listened the other day to Ben Lieber because I thought his take was interesting and I wanted to listen. But I think as Carson Wentz ran the offense, but to act as if Carson Wentz was just thriving. Go back and rewatch the film. It's not the most rosy picture of what that was, which is part of the reason he got hurt was a byproduct of the play style. It wasn't just Kevin O'Connell wanting to throw him out there and get hurt. I mean, he was ducking his head in the pocket. Mm-hmm. I remember being in Dublin and some of the Steelers, and it was just, it was carnage, some of the play style. So,
when he kept running into linebackers and taking them on.
Right. And that's part of why over the course of his career, he's never been able to stay healthy. So I think the assumption that JJ is the 3 is not the most fair, assessment of it. He could come back in OTAs and look really, really good and really productive, and it's going to be incumbent upon him to prove it every single day. And that's for all of this. They have established an infrastructure where it is a competitive, motivated environment, and I don't think that's a bad thing at any position.
Lastly, are you heading to? I believe it's Head Flyer. Head Flyer Brewery with the Johnny K Show with lead assistant Mike and Nori, 7:00 tonight. Are you going to go to that tonight? And if so, are you bringing the marketing director?
It's so funny. John's mother works at Lunds and Byerly's where I grocery shop.
North Loop?
In the Northeast area.
Oh, yeah.
She asked me the other day, am I going to go? And I really felt bad telling John's mother that I'm not totally sure.
NCAA tournament? You'll be watching that, but they got TVs there.
Might go to dinner. I don't know. Yeah. We're trying to figure it out. But John will have Mike and Nori. The crowd will be phenomenal.
Yeah.
People are rabid about this team as they should be. So it'll be great. It'll be great.
When we follow your stories and your tweets at Alec_Lewis or the podcast, The Alec Lewis Show, from the owners' meetings, what do you look to accomplish?
Yeah, I'm not going in with there's no crazy mission with this. It'll just be interesting to hear after free agency, or not after free agency, but just with where they're at, having acquired Kyler Murray and Carson Wentz. How do they view the quarterback room? What have they heard about JJ? What have the initial conversation with Kyler been like? Roster-wise, what are the biggest needs? I think the draft right now, I would say over the last 3 years, this is as wide open as I feel the position that they could target in number 18 is. Mm-hmm. I felt pretty comfortable last year that it was going to be an offensive lineman. The year before in 2024, you knew it was going to be a quarterback, obviously. But this year, if you said they drafted a defensive tackle, a safety,
A tight end?
No, I wouldn't expect tight end in the first round.
You're telling me if that Oregon guy Sadiq is available at 18, they wouldn't take him?
I don't know. I haven't watched him close enough, and I haven't
with
talked
Hawkinson
to people.
and the way they framed up his deal, so that this could be his final year here.
Yeah, I haven't watched Kenyon Sadiq enough and I haven't talked to people internally enough to know whether they love him or not.
How is Phil Knight?
If Jeremiah Love, if that would be possible, I would feel very comfortable. That would be in play. But
are you ever going to do a mock 3?
Yeah, I'll do another mock. But
this weekend?
I'm going to give John just tweeted, by the way, Alec, no better date night spot than Head Flyer tonight. Not saying, just saying.
Bring MD. Come on, man. They got TV.
She would go, but I don't know. I've got to, there's been a lot of sport. There's been a lot
you
of.
don't want to bring MD out in public.
Well, I was telling MD the other night I wanted to watch the Wild play the Tampa Bay Lightning, and she thinks I'm crazy, but
Has she met John's mom?
I'm not going to not watch Marcus Foligno. No, she hasn't met John's mom.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, John's mom is probably like, why does he come into the grocery store 3 times a week instead of just, why does he get all his groceries one day? But I'm in the self-checkout.
You want to leave the house.
It's true. It's absolutely correct.
You are fantastic, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we look forward to either contacting you in Arizona or seeing you relatively soon.
I'll be by the pool. Just let me know. Thanks.
Alec Lewis, The Athletic, theathletic.com, and his cohort, Jonny Athletic, joins 9 to noon around the corner. This is KFAN. Hey, Jonny, what's going on?
What's up, PA? How you doing?
Pretty well, thank you. Do you perchance have Zelle?
Zelle, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll need to get in order. I wanted to Zelle or Venmo you $200 so we can get.
I have Venmo.
Okay, we can get Alec over. So we might need a side table or a booth at Head Flyer. I'll send you $200 to take care of their food and their drinks, to get him to come to the event tonight, because he's on the fence. And I'm like, why are you on the fence? This is your dog. But Johnny's your dog, a man's best friend. And it sounds like a wonderful date night.
It'd be an unbelievable date night. Mike and Nori, myself, little Wolves talk, a crowd of thousands. Alec would get some of the warmth, because there's plenty of Vikings fans that are going to be there. They'd love to see him. Would impress the young lady that we both know very well. And so, I don't see how he could miss it. I'm a little offended that he needs to be bribed to come out after all I've done for him over the years. But I guess that's the way it is for these young guys.
Very, very fair point. Big night tonight for Johnny K. Jon Krawczynski covers the Wolves for The Athletic and theathletic.com. Head Flyer Brewery, 7:00. Loquacious and funny Wolves lead assistant and fill-in head coach Mike Nori. He's going to be on the scene. What can people expect tonight? And like how early should people arrive?
Yeah, I would say it fills up quickly. So we start at 7 p.m. If you want a place close to the front of the stage area, you're probably going to want to get there 5-ish, I would guess. Because it does pack in pretty good. It's got a great open tap room. There's plenty of room. We'll have speakers everywhere, so you can hear things. But if you want to be up close and you want to hear Mike and Nori waxing philosophic, poetic, and comedic about the Timberwolves, get there early, have a beer, get loosened up. There's a pizza truck out front, and so there'll be plenty of time. Just hang out with your people. But it's going to be great. We're going to have a nice conversation with Micah about this season, about his pathway up from nowhere to where he is now, and probably a future head coach in this league. We'll, share some stories about the Wolves, about Ant, about Finchie and all that. And then we're going to have some tickets to give away. We'll have some Q&A with myself in the audience. And so it's always a really good time. So if people can make it out there, we'll do the best to make it worth their while.
Is Suhan going to be there? And if so, is Sue Dog going to bring his guitar and do something instrumental and or acoustic?
So he will be there. He's kind of the quarterback of the show and kind of directs traffic a little bit. And so he will be there. I don't think he'll be singing or playing today, but if that's what's going to bring in more of the crowd, we'll do what we need to do. He is an artist, as you know, and I don't think it would take much to say, hey, Jim, why don't you play a little ditty here, and we wouldn't have to twist his arm too much on it. Yeah,
Jim's a terrific columnist. I've gotten closer with him over the years, and I've got a lot of respect for him. So he's going to be part of it tonight. And, for those who are looking for information, we just gave out a lot. Lastly, Head Flyer. Where is Head Flyer?
Head Flyer Brewing's in Northeast Minneapolis. It's right off of Hennepin Avenue and 35W. Very close. There's a bunch of parking right near it, which is good. And it's been a brewery that's been around for quite a while. It's not that far from my house, so I've been going to it for years and years. Great beers, and just a really great venue, cool venue for Wolves fans, to just come watch games, hang out. But yeah, 35W and Hennepin Avenue in Northeast Minneapolis.
And people can get more information via John's X feed. That's at JONK. What's your Twitter handle?
At JONKRAWCZYNSKI.
Can you repeat the part of the stuff where you said all about the things?
I would imagine you plan to talk a fair amount about that history-making win against the Rockets. What'd you think?
That was unbelievable, PA. I mean, when you look at it, was kind of this season in a nutshell, just the wild twists and turns, all in one game. I mean, they're up big in the fourth, and it gets away from them. Then they're down big and down 13 in overtime, and I'm just getting ready to figure out, just to ask all the questions about the officiating and everything I know they're going to be mad at. And then all of a sudden they storm back and start hitting shots, start getting stops. Julius Randle is unbelievable. DiVincenzo hitting a big three. Mike Conley hitting a three in the corner to get things started. And it was really a cool kind of thing for this team because we've watched them all season try and figure out a cohesion and a chemistry. And then you have Ant out, you have Ayo Dosunmu out, Naz Reid is out, Rudy Gobert is out, and this kind of ragtag group of Wolves banded together to go in and steal a huge game when it comes to playoff implications. So definitely the biggest, kind of most rowdy win of the season and one that they desperately needed. So it was a super fun environment to be in.
I loved your take about Kyle Anderson in that he can guard a team's five, a team center, then play point for the Wolves as they embark on offense, which we remember from the last time he was here. But with this individual group, just how valuable is Slow-Mo and why?
Yeah, it's just incredible what he gives them and checks every box that they need. So, you look at what he's done since he left here, PA, the first time, and he went to Golden State and didn't get a whole lot of run, and went to Miami and played some, but wasn't a major part of what they were doing. And then in Utah, they were tanking, and so he really didn't get on the floor. But he comes to the Timberwolves again, and you look at it and say, well, he doesn't make many shots, and he's not super athletic, so how's he going to fit in? But Chris Finch appreciates his game, but mostly he appreciates his basketball IQ, I think more than any coach that Kyle Anderson has played for, including Greg Popovich. And so what Finchy does is put him in position to really trust that intelligence. And this is a team that needs basketball IQ, PA, that needs a thinker out there. And they need ball handling. They need versatility defensively. And you're already seeing, he's only been here for a minute, but he settled right back into basically pointing out to everyone on the court, hey, I need you here. Hey, I need you over here. Watch this guy coming on the back door. And he's such a great communicator and connector that it doesn't really matter that he's not a super big scoring threat. He just does so many other things that this team needs. He's just essential for what they're doing here down the stretch. He's going to be a major part of their playoff rotation, and deservedly so. And with what you just said, he does it naturally when the proverbial bullets are flying, which means things are hot and they're tense and they're fast. The example that I think you may have shared, but like when he pointed to DiVincenzo to go to the right spot
and then it was off a pick, and Dante gets that straightaway three. It's stuff like that. I mean, the quarterback on the floor, man, he's just so naturally good at that as Kyle Anderson.
Yeah, and it's not only on offense, PA, but also on defense, because later in that game, at the end of overtime, when the Rockets are trying to inbound for one last shot, DiVincenzo is guarding the ball, the inbounder, and Kyle Anderson is guarding Kevin Durant, the only guy that can score on Houston. And he tells Dante, hey, come over here and double right now. Just get off of the inbounder. So Dante comes over to double Durant with Kyle. That forces the inbounder to pass it somewhere else where TJ Shannon tips the ball, and they never even get a shot off. So that's the kind of things that he sees in real time, and he already has the credibility to where if he tells someone to do something, they do it, and it works out. And so just all of those little things, you're just never going to see that when you look at his box score and, he went 1 for 6. What did he really do? Well, he did so many important things to stir the drink down the stretch to make sure that it turned out the way that it did. And he's just exactly what they need right now.
Do you think Ant returns tomorrow?
I think there's a chance he returns tomorrow. I think it might be a little more likely that Monday is the case. Today is a big day, PA. They have practice, about to go into the practice facility and check out, what he's doing. But he's just started this week kind of doing individual stuff on the court and kind of trying to go through some agility drills and test that knee out. And so I think that, if today goes really well, then yes, I could see him playing tomorrow against Detroit. But I think that it might make even a little more sense to just give that knee a couple of extra days, let him get one more workout in on Sunday, and then play Monday in Dallas. We'll have to just see how that all works out.
So in the meantime, what is the team learning, Johnny, without Ant in the mix, and where we're celebrating the OT win, where we're finding some new faces and just grinding through things? What are they learning about this team now that will inform them or instruct them moving forward when Ant does return?
Yeah, it's been big, Nordo, in terms of they're 4-1 without him, which is outstanding. They're playing great defense right now without Ant. I think they're number one in the league in these 5 games. It's like the defensive rating of right around 100, which is minuscule in today's game. And what you have seen, I think, without Edwards out there, everyone else has sort of a heightened awareness and a heightened attention to detail. They know that Ant isn't going to be there to bail them out offensively. And so they have to really just adhere to the game plan, really dig deep and be very good in their execution and covering for each other. And so defensively, it's been great. Offensively, I think the benefit right now for Anthony Edwards taking a few games off is I do think it's allowed Jaden McDaniels to find a rhythm that was eluding him. Julius Randle is being more involved and finding a little bit better of a flow. You're seeing Dante DiVincenzo, a lot of these guys that are role players around Ant just get a few more touches, get a few more shots, and build some confidence. And so I think that the ideal scenario is that Anthony Edwards returns and all of these guys are playing with more confidence. And so everything is going to just click in a little bit better around him, and he's not going to have to carry the load just as much. But they desperately need Ant for all of the shot making, for the one-on-one defense that he can provide in big moments. But it's been really impressive to see the depth of the team kind of shine through over these last 5 games and just playing a style of basketball that is a lot more connected and cohesive than they have been for much of the year.
Okay, is it important to make sure Jaden McDaniels gets an abundance of touches with Edwards, Julius, and DiVincenzo on the floor, like more than he was getting on average?
Yeah, I really believe it is. And Chris Finch has talked about this, PA, where they have a baseline of 10 shots for him every game, but I think that they need to go higher than that. I'd love it to see around 14 shots a game because he is so capable of really kind of taking over, especially in the half court, using his size and his length to just shoot over people. And when he is engaged offensively, PA, he's so much better defensively as well. And so he is the one kind of guy on their team that is a little bit of a cheat code in terms of, he can do whatever. And a lot of times the opponent's defense tries to put one of their weaker defenders on him and load up on Randall and Edwards and force those guys into isolation basketball. And that's when the Wolves are at their worst, when it's just Julius or Ant dribble, taking a contested shot. But when Jaden is involved, that does mean that the ball is moving a lot more. And this team is a lot harder to guard when everyone is moving off of the ball, getting things going, and then you're finding Jaden in the flow for 3-point shots, going to the basket, pull-up jumpers in the lane. It's a real weapon that they do need to continue to exploit, PA, and they cannot let Jaden get lost in the sauce here when Ant gets back.
Johnny Athletic, Jon Krawczynski, jettison your elite journalistic mind and play the fan for a moment. How would you feel if the Timberwolves get the Lakers in the first round and sans home court advantage?
I mean, I'm sure they would be nervous, rightfully so, because Luka is playing out of his mind right now. It did not go well for them in the regular season against the Lakers. But I do think that fans should go into any series in the first round with real confidence, because one thing that this team has shown over the last 2 years is when you give Chris Finch and this coaching staff a full week to prepare for a series, as they will get, assuming that disaster doesn't strike and they fall into the play-in, which I don't think they will.
Right.
But if you give them a full week to drill down on an opponent, to really focus Ant and Jaden and Naz and everyone on the game plan, they come out firing in that first series. They really do play well. They're coached well. They match up well. And so it would be a bigger challenge than beating the Lakers last year in the same series, which is exactly what they did in the 3-6. And they owned the Lakers in that series. I don't think it would be that easy, especially with Luka playing as well as he is and with Ayton giving them some presence around the rim. But I think it's still absolutely a winnable series and something that they should go into confident that they can come out on top of that.
Lastly from me, dare we say Rudy is catching it better than ever when running to the basket, especially off the bounce? Dare we say that?
I mean, I will say it this way. Yes, there have been pockets of the season, and especially lately, where he is catching it better. There's still times, like in the Oklahoma City game just a few weeks ago, where it looked like he had, just grease on his hands and couldn't hold the ball. But I do think that Ayo Dosunmu and Kyle Anderson in particular, PA, their additions have been clutch in that regard, because both of them seem to have a good handle on how to pass it to Rudy so that it is as catchable as possible for him. And that's an art.
Yeah.
It's not a skill that you learn. And so I think that they are more equipped to utilize Rudy in the offense that way than they have been ever before in his 4 years that he's been here. We'll still see how it goes in the pressure of a playoff, but there's been progress in that regard for sure.
Most important question you're going to get all morning as part of this, and thanks again for the time. Which beer should we be getting tonight at Head Flyer Brewing when we're there to see you and Micah and everybody involved? Am I getting the "It Was All a Dream" Juicy style? Say shh, feels like an Atmosphere reference. Love it. Maybe some Crunch Time for that citrus wheat ale. Like, what kind of beer should I be getting when I sit down and watch you guys do the show?
I always love that.
Yeah, there's so many great options, Nordo. Crunch Time is the collaboration that I have with them personally, and my name's on the can and stuff. It's the coolest thing I've ever done in journalism is to be with the Head Flyer and have my own beer. So I recommend that one. I also recommend, if you're a basketball fan and you want to get into the basketball tidings of the event, they have one called Wicked Jump Shot, which is great.
Oh, yeah.
And It Was All a Dream is really, really good. I'm not pandering. I'm not just saying this because we have a partnership, but they have great beers. They're great people to support. It's one of the last live events. They're actually going to close the tap room, and I think another brewery is taking over there. But these guys have been awesome through the whole way, and they really do a good job with it. You can still buy the beer in stores. And so, yeah, I would say crunch time, wicked jump shot, or it was all a dream. You can't go wrong with any of those.
Head Flyer Brewing tonight, Northeast, the Jonny Krawczynski show with Micah Nori, the lead assistant to Chris Finch. Also, Jim Suhan will be there. Tell Sue Dog I said hi, likewise for Micah. And thank you very much for the conversation. Like Nordo said, it was terrific.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for
Thanks,
sure.
man.
Johnny Athletic, 9 to noon. Back after this.
I can't wait.
Speaking of KFAN, thanks for listening. KFAN welcomes some great shows to not just our favorite hockey team, but great musical shows to Grand Casino Arena in the next year, including Lionel Richie. Wait a minute, hold on. Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind, and Fire on June 24th? Tickets are on sale now. I got to get some, and I'll be doing what you're going to do. You're going to get the complete details on the upcoming shows via the concert page, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Any
See Earth, Wind, and Fire in June.
Any idea why Travis Hunter was in town and went to the Timberwolves game? Like, was there some kind of story or something that I missed? Travis Hunter, Colorado Buffaloes, Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, here the Timberwolves posted a picture on X of Travis and Anthony Edwards together. And when I was watching the game, I noticed that they said, hey, there's Travis Hunter. I have no idea why he was here.
Well, let me see here, Trevin. So Hunter, I'm seeing this I'm just going off of headlines. He linked up with Kevin Durant and Jaden McDaniels.
Oh.
And Anthony Edwards gave him a pair of his unreleased AE2s in a green colorway. Yeah, I'm a lot of these guys probably. What are the connections? Let me see. KD, there's no Colorado guy. I don't know. These guys all love to hang out. Travis Hunter, maybe sneaky future wide receiver 3. What about that? Maybe we're trying to make moves.
Man.
Or CB3.
I'm
Travis Hunter.
I'm glad. I'm glad that you just talked for a minute and 7 seconds.
Just filled some space.
Well, yeah, because I'm continuing to scroll. I found this deal and it was as I was signing out of X. And then I'm like, damn, no, I want to look at that. Yeah, I mean, I felt it was perfect for you and I. And if I'm misrepresenting your take on birthdays,
okay,
I apologize. But it was like men who don't care. It was like facts about, and it was an average deal. It was like, it wasn't just somebody spouting off an opinion. There was corroboration, but it was facts about men who don't necessarily care about their birthday.
Okay.
Did I represent you fairly in that? Yeah, it's cool to have a birthday, but I mean,
I don't need the fanfare.
Yeah. Like there's a reason, the flight attendant, my son, and a handful of others kept my 60th birthday party on the 3rd floor of Canterbury Park quiet. Because, I mean, I'm not saying I would have wrecked it, but I mean, it's just like something that I, generally speaking, wouldn't plan. Know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally understand.
And that was big, and it was ballyhooed, but it was age 60, so.
So was it an article? Because I did I found this post, facts about men that don't like birthdays.
Oh, give it to me, because.
They are low maintenance.
Okay, now hold on, stop.
Yeah,
you found it. Well done.
Yeah.
They all are me. I can't speak for you, but they all are me until you get to the last one.
Okay.
Okay, so I think I'm relatively low maintenance.
I'm pretty low maintenance.
Okay,
yes.
Keep going.
They like being alone.
Thank you.
Yeah, only child syndrome over here.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
They're used to making themselves happy.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. No problem with that.
They measure life in progress and not dates.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not a goal-oriented person because so many things change. Like you set a goal for June 1st, and so many things change up to it that, like, the goal doesn't matter anymore.
Absolutely. They pour into others more than they receive.
I mean,
I would agree with that.
I can't say that I'm that person. Other people are supposed to say you're that person, but I'll roll the dice.
They don't like drama.
Thrive in it. Craving it. Not on Fridays, but craving it. Quite comfortable in it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, drama's not
Quite
so
comfortable
bad.
in it.
Oh, I'm happy. Let's go.
All right. Thank you very much for listening to a drama-free version of 9 to Noon. For Eric Nordquist, the producer, I'm Paul Allen. The program is next, featuring Program Password, which is fantastic. God bless all of you, and may God bless your families. Have wonderful weekends, and thanks for listening to KFAN and 9 to Noon. Bye.
9 to Noon.
If it's good news or money, leave a message.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.